Welcome to the Liberace Mansion.
Welcome to Under the Vegas Sun, looking at the people, the events, and the news surrounding Las Vegas and the entire Vegas Valley. Hello, I'm Steve Schorr. We are live from the Liberace Mansion. Becoming a successful performer in Las Vegas is not as easy as some might expect. There are victories and challenges, victories and challenges, and victories and challenges. Sometimes even the best don't make it, but when they do make it, it becomes something that a lot of people can truly wrap their arms around. Our very special guests on the program today are not only one, but two men who have gone through those victories and those challenges and now have come out on top. You'll meet them in just a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back. There is a thing in Las Vegas, and that is when you become successful in Las Vegas, not only are you successful as an individual, but you become a success for everybody around you. As I said in the beginning, it's not that easy to do. Our very special guests on the program today are two men who not only have seen the highs and lows, but have become amazing successes now in Las Vegas. I'm very honored to say they're also great friends of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, Clint Holmes and the unbelievable Earl Turner. Gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the program.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
That's really good.
Okay, so music has been part of both of your lives ever since you were young. Clint, your dad was a jazz musician, your mom was an opera singer. Earl, music has always been a part of your life from the time that you were a teenager until today. Do you guys ever look back and say, what the hell did I do?
Oh,
yeah.
Every day. Didn't we have that conversation this morning?
We had that conversation just the other day, yeah.
Do you ever look back seriously?
Not seriously, but you know, it's like anything else. Occasionally you go, man, I'm still doing this.
Yeah.
But I can't speak for Earl, but for me, it's the only thing I know how to do. It's the only thing I've ever done is make music. And I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever that I set out on this adventure all those years ago.
Yeah. I had someone ask me in an interview, if you had it to do over, what would you change? And I said, not a thing.
Yeah, I know.
Not a thing. The hardships, you know, the successes, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
No.
I watch both of you on stage all the time. And what I see is not only entertainers, but I see showmen. I see individuals.
What's the difference, Steve, between an
to me,
entertainer and a showman? Yeah.
I think it's the way you react to the audience. I think it's what you give to the audience and what you take back from the audience. You're both showmen. You revel in the idea of being on stage. You revel in the idea of performing for people. And sometimes it's the applaud. Sometimes I think it's just the smiles that you get out of your audience that you truly revel in.
Well, people ask both of us all the time, where do you get the energy, right? I mean, you get that all the time. People say, where do you get the energy? Yeah. Well, in particular in this show, I get it from right next to me, you know, because Earl's right next to me, and you know his energy is incredible, and so, but always I say I'm in the middle. You know, you get it from the band behind you, and you get it from the audience in front of you. So when you have a great band, and those nights when you have a great audience, you can't help but be lifted up.
You both have seen the epitome of what I believe is the greatness of music. I want to talk about your show, but I want to talk about music and what you've seen and how you see it today. I mean, I come from the era of the 70s and 80s. Soul music was the basis of who I am today. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, the Temptations, the Supremes, the Spinners were great friends of mine. I did a TV show with the Spinners on Fairmount Park in Philadelphia. There was a sound that you got from the music that was around during that time. When you look at it today, do you miss that? Are we missing it? How do you see it?
I miss the rawness of it. I listen to songs from the 60s and the 70s, and I hear a bass guitar that's slightly out of tune,
Right.
you know? And yet, it feels so good. The Billboard Music Awards were on television the other
Just that night, yeah.
And I don't see the live musicians, number one. And then secondly, oftentimes, more often than not, they're lip syncing as compared to singing. So you don't get that raw moment, that realness, that true feeling, because it's so contrived, or it's so, it's already done.
Soundtracks.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It's multi-tracks.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know exactly what Earl's talking about. Yeah. There's human beings have feelings when they play, and sometimes you go in the studio, and even for us as singers, if you're with a producer that doesn't get that, they'll look for the perfection of the. I always talk about Joe Cocker's "You Are So Beautiful," and he gets to that end, to me. Right? Some producers might have gone, well, let's go back and get that note right. Either Joe or somebody understood that the emotion of that note, you don't mess with that.
It was the emotion.
Right.
So I think some of that stuff is just overproduced and oversynthesized, and the human funk of it is gone.
So that emotion was often came from the words that were written. The Tommy Bell and Linda Creeds of the world who wrote words that impacted people. Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys are on stage now, and I've seen your show. I know what kind of songs you sing. We don't have that as much today, do we?
It depends. It depends on who you listen to. It depends on. I mean, Ed Sheeran was one of the new young artists that received some awards in the Billboard Awards the other night. Great lyricist. Jason Mraz.
John Mayer.
I mean, there are
John
still
Legend.
people. John Legend.
Yeah.
There are still
Rihanna.
some.
Rihanna. Kendrick Lamar. I mean,
Yeah.
there are people. I think the confusion sometimes is that a guy like Kendrick Lamar or Kanye, one of these guys. I don't necessarily listen to that. I get plugged into it by my kids sometimes, and my grandkids actually. But when I do, when my mind is open and I listen to it, then I get it. I go, oh, okay, they're talking about the culture and the emotions and what's going on now, and it's a little bit different form. But I think that I have this phrase, the Great American Songbook is still being written.
All the time.
All the time. So
listen, you're a double Grammy nominee.
Yes, I am. It's been time you brought that up.
We've been waiting for that.
Double Grammy nominee. And it's because, though, of the music that you were putting together in the new album. I don't think you can't just cut that short. It is
well,
that
no, of
music.
course not. I mean, the music on the CD is there's a John Mayer cut, there's a John Legend cut. There are songs on the album by contemporary writers, but they are what to me are well written, good songs. Doesn't matter, And then there's stuff from Porgy and Bess, the Gershwins. So I mean, Earl and I talk about it all the time. It's all about what the song says. Everything we picked to do in our show right now, it boiled down to, does the song have something to say that we want to say, and do we want to say it here or there or later in the show, right? I mean,
yeah, and I think it's interesting that we're talking, or you're talking to us, because I think our careers have something to say to young people. Your career never ends unless you decide that it's going to end. You can have a hit record, 40 years ago, 45 years ago, and then be nominated for Grammys 40 years later. So in terms of the artistry, in terms of the musicianship, in terms of our careers and what we do as entertainers, as showmen, as vocalists, it's never ending. Unless you decide that you want to stop, you can continue to do it and to nurture it. I'm constantly learning. Every time I get on stage with this guy, I'm learning something.
And the same thing here. And that's one thing that Earl and I, we have a lot in common, but one of the main things is we both are about growing. Neither one of us sits there and goes, well, they don't write them like they used to.
Right,
yeah, we
exactly.
Don't do that. It's like they write them like they're supposed to. No, and we investigate it, and we want to be a part of it. I mean, not that either one of us is going to be a rapper tomorrow, but we're also going to listen to what's going on.
Yeah, we could break that down, though. We could yo-yo.
We could. And that's why, I know.
But no.
And that's why we can't do it. Because I say stuff like yo-yo.
That's
and
right.
Earl goes, I'm over here.
You are a yo-yo. Okay.
Yeah. There is a time, though, when you're on stage And I watched both of you. Earl, you're an amazing showman on stage. You grasp the audience in the palm of your hand and you pull them with you. Here's the question for you. Do you do it for yourself or do you do it for the audience?
Oh, it's always easy. It's always for the audience. It's always for the audience. And I think I've had to learn over time to pull an audience into my performance because the situations that I found myself in where I needed this job, I needed to make this work, absolutely required that I engage the audience. Absolutely required that I give them something to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I've had to kind of back up and learn in reverse, where a lot of artists, they may start out in theater, they may just start out singing or whatever, and they're trying to draw the people listening into their moments. I've had to kind of go back and learn that, how to bring them in. It's something that this guy does exceptionally well.
Clint,
bring them into the moment.
Roberta Flack once said to me,
little name dropping.
Well,
let me
he does that a lot.
And it was the same thing that Barack Obama said.
Right.
Actually,
Yes.
it's interesting. No, Roberta said to me, she said, "You go get the audience. I make them come to me."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Really?
That was Roberta's philosophy. Mm-hmm. That they're going to come to me, and both can work for, like Earl said, for different artists.
And what you find, if you're really, really good at what you do, and you really study it and think about it, you can do both.
Absolutely.
And that's a win-win.
When we walk on stage in Vegas, right, we can't assume that everybody in that audience knows who we are. They may have been given a ticket, a 2-for-1, whatever it is. So we have to come out and engage them right away.
Okay,
exactly.
Stop right there. I want to take a break for a couple of seconds. When I come back, I want to talk about your show's soundtrack because it is a kaleidoscope to me of entertainment. It is more than just, it is what lounge shows used to be in Las Vegas. And I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about, it's an amazing show called Soundtrack. It's at the Westgate in Las Vegas. I'm telling you, you're going to hear about it in just a couple of seconds. We'll be right back. Stay with us. When was the last time you saw a show and you said, now that's a show? Well, there's a show in Las Vegas now. It's called Soundtrack. And it features our very special guest today, Earl Turner, Clint Holmes. Gentlemen, okay. Soundtrack. It is as much to me, you tell me if I'm wrong, it's as much to me as who you are, the stories you tell, as much as the music that you sing. Did you design it that way? I mean, you guys were stars a long time before the two of you got together on stage. And it's a natural that the two of you got on stage. But I'm curious how you put it together because it's delightful to be able to watch.
Thank you.
It's interesting that we had talked on many occasions for the past 4 or 5 years about doing a show together. Now, had we ever actually conceptualized it? No, not until the opportunity came from the Westgate Hotel and Casino asking us, after having seen us perform on stage together, what would you guys think about doing a show together? Right. And then that's when we actually sat down and we agreed to do it, of course, first, and then we actually had to sit down and figure out.
What is it?
Yeah.
What are we going
what
to
do? Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. And so the idea, soundtrack.
I think it's important, what we both said, we didn't want it to be like, I'll do 20 minutes, Earl does 20 minutes, and call it a show. We wanted it to be a show that we did together, and yet Earl's fans are going to want to see Earl, and my fans are going to want to see me. So how do we make all of that work? And that was the key. So the part of the show that you're talking about, or the through line that you're talking about, which is we are about
weaving in
and out. Absolutely. I talk about my mom and dad. Earl talks about his dad and where he came from and stuff. And I think that's important because by the time those segments happen in the show, we hope that the audience has been sitting there for 20, 25 minutes and they're thoroughly engaged and entertained.
They're drawn in.
Yeah. So now they're ready to hear a little bit about us.
Exactly. And we decided immediately that the songs that we were going to do had to pass what we call the rainbow test, which is the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow. As soon as you hear the first lyrics,
you know
and you respond. It's like,
And I would say 90% of the songs are like that. There's a couple of things that we do. I do in a couple of originals, but 90% of the show is you hear the first 3 words. I love that.
I call
song.
them hair songs.
Yeah. Hair songs.
Hair
Hair
songs.
songs.
Because when you hear them, the
hair
hair on the
on-
back
Ah,
of
I
your
like
neck
that,
stand
okay.
up.
That's great. I like that.
Because you
I
know,
like that, yeah.
you know it and you can sense it, and you're waiting for it to come forward.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was the idea of the show as we grew. And Earl knows 1,000,000 songs. I know a couple of hundred. And when we started to put it together, the first thing was to eliminate. I love this. I love it too. But all that doesn't work. To get it down. And we sit here now, and I know that it's been a bit stop-start for us. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, that kind of a thing. If it wasn't like that, we'd already be changing the show. We'd already be going.
Oh, exactly.
Let's put this in and take
You
that out. And all
both,
that.
you both have 2 separate careers. You're in the process of putting together an album, from what I understand, and a single, Earl. You've got a book coming forward. You've got a lot of things happening. How do you take 2 diverse individuals who have taken different courses of life, bring them together without the conflict that often happens? It's not like peanut butter and jelly here.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've had that question before too.
Me too.
And I think that for me, it's about 2 key things. You have to have, number 1, trust, and number 2, honesty. And that's something that our relationship is.
Yeah.
And musically, respect. Yeah, and respect.
Yeah.
So we trust each other, we respect each other, and we're honest with each other.
And that is a key, because there are, and we will not name any names, there are many friends of ours who, if we thought about, that we talk about and go, no. Nothing to do with his or her talent.
No.
Simply to do with, we can get through our ego stuff. I mean, we both have our egos, we both have our ideas, but we both also trust each other, we have respect, and we enjoy it.
We know what we want the show to be.
Yeah.
We know what we want the show to be. And I explained it to someone, it's like, if you have a director, if it's a Spielberg, and he hires all these wonderful actors, when they come together, they're all trying to get the job done. Mm-hmm. They have to know how to leave their egos outside the door, how to leave their own personal preferences outside the door. They come in, they get the job done.
Yeah, they're part of it.
And
They're part of the team.
Exactly. And so that's what we are. That's
in the beginning of the show, I asked you the question, did you ever think maybe, why am I crazy to do this in your life? When you look at this show now, is this part of where the life is going? You each want to have your own desire to be stars on your own, but I got to tell you, this show is very, very special in bringing amazing talent together, and I've been there 3 times, and I've never seen an audience that at the end of the show did not stand up and applaud.
I think we both really realize that this is a special thing. This particular show is a special thing. We don't have the crystal ball to say whether we do this show for the next 10 years or whether we do it for a year.
Nice.
It would be nice.
It would be nice.
It would be nice. And the beauty of the beauty of it is also we do have time. Earl does his own thing, and and I have things that I do. So we do have that time. But when we come back to this, I'd say literally every night we do the show, we kind of come off and are like, man, that flew by. That was so special. So I think that the good news is we're really aware of how unique and how special this is.
And why do I get the sense that it's not the same show every night? That you,
because we forget stuff.
We forget stuff, and we fall and
we
trip once.
But it seems to me like you respond to the audience.
Of course.
So what you do next comes from the audience as much as comes from you.
Part of it does. I mean, we know where we're going in terms of the conversation, but if something happens in the moment, we go with the moment. That's what makes an entertainer. That's what makes a showman. It's
exactly.
Like you go with the moment.
It's scripted, but not.
Yeah.
So
in fact, our friend David Grabat, who's kind of our director, almost every night comes up and looks at us with this like, did you know? And we're like, it worked.
Yeah.
The other part of it is the sound. The other part is working with a live orchestra. The other part of it is that part of entertainment that the audience is dying to be able to see. That gives you additional power.
the old days, the Sinatras and Sammy Davises and all those legendary performers. I think, because we've both seen many of them, right? You walk out of there somehow feeling that what you saw was the only time that was ever done. You know, and whether that's just the magic of a great artist or whether it's true, that's the magic of seeing a show. How many times do I have people come up and say to me, I was there the night your mother sang, or I was there the night you did this. And I'm not going to stop and say, you know, my mom came in about 3 times a week, or I do that song every night. I'm gratified that they think, or it felt spontaneous and it felt like the only time.
Well, I think every night the audience is different and every night we're different.
Yeah, absolutely.
The main thing is to go out there with the intention of taking them on a journey and showing them a good time. That's our job. That's what we do.
That is our job. Yeah. To enjoy ourselves so they can enjoy it.
Las Vegas is changing. Las Vegas is not the Las Vegas that it was 20 years ago. Not that Las Vegas today is not good, but it's different. The performers that are now on stage in Las Vegas are the big names. Some are very, very good. Some I would rather not go to watch. It depends. It seems to me that what you're doing now has a place to be resurrected in Las Vegas.
What do you see as the difference between what we're doing and what? I think, don't you think that in any time, in any era, there are performers you want to see and performers you don't want to see? It's taste. I know that you're talking more about whether people are doing it, faking it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And I also think what you may be referring to is something I talk about a lot. Oftentimes, the entertainment entity of today doesn't transform you. When I would go see the Spinners, or I would go see James
You were transformed.
Brown, I would come out. The purpose of the entertainment that we grew up on was those entertainers transformed you. When you went in, you became a part of an experience, you forgot your troubles, and for that hour or two, you went on a journey, and by God, when you got up out of that chair, you felt better, hugely better than you did when you went in. And that's the thing, that's the element that's missing in so much of what we see, because so much of it's sensory overload. But it's lighting, it's technical, it's monkeys flying through the air.
And I find myself when I see those shows, about 20 minutes in, I'm kind of done. I'm done. Thank you. It was beautiful. I really appreciated the technical ability and the but I got to go.
And that's the difference between entertainment and showmanship. And you two are showmen. And I have to tell you, this has been a very, very fast half hour. It has been delightful. I'm so honored.
Well, you should have us back.
Yeah,
I will have you.
Have you got time for me to say one thing that I want to say?
Sure.
Because I heard this the other day. I'm not going to name drop, but I heard this the other day. I thought it was really interesting. An entertainer said, what we do is like every night we're on a first date. He said, think of your first date. You want it to look absolutely your best. You want it to say the right things. You want it to leave the best possible impression that you could, And so he said, every time we walk on stage, it's like a first date all over again.
You're my first date. Yeah. I just love you guys being here. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks very much. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
The show is called Soundtrack. It's at the Westgate. Do yourself a favor and see it. It's amazing. I'll have some closing words about these two great men in just a minute. I think you'll agree that both Clint and Earl are indeed amazing performers and amazing men. What they've gone through and where they are today is truly a tribute to not only themselves, but what Las Vegas has to offer. If you get a chance, when you come to Las Vegas, don't forget to see their show at the Westgate. It will be something you'll tell your friends about, I promise you. A lot of things going on, of course, in Las Vegas. And by the way, when you come to Las Vegas or live in Las Vegas, go by the site that's going to be the great new stadium of the Las Vegas Raiders. You'll see how much advancement has already taken place. By 2020, it will be the stadium to see. Until the next time, I'm Steve Schorr. Be safe and enjoy life under the Vegas sun.